and you're just a pretty face.
Just to be whoever you are is no disgrace. Don't be scared if you don't fit in. Look who's in the reject bin. It's the Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Dolls like you and me. Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Made him perfectly. So if you got a bump on your nose or lumps on your toes, do not despair. Be like the Raggy Dolls and say I just don't care. 'Cause Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls
Raggy
are
Dolls.
happy just to be Raggy Dolls, Raggy Dolls, dolls like you and me.
Ever since Rupert the Roo had come to live in Mr. Grimes's cottage, just across the yard from the factory, old Edward had been a very good influence on him. At first, he'd been ever so bouncy and unpredictable, but now he had calmed down quite a lot, thanks to the patience and wisdom of Mr. Grimes' old teddy bear. Not only that, the young kangaroo's company had been good for old Edward, and the two had become close friends. "Snap!" yelled Rupert suddenly, making the old bear jump. "Oh, dear, I wish you wouldn't do that," said old Edward. "It's not good for me at my age." "Sorry, Ed," said the kangaroo. "Got a bit carried away then. Maybe we should play something a bit quieter." No, I quite like Snap," said the old teddy bear. "If you could just try not to yell." "No worries," said Rupert. "Your turn." Just then they heard the cat flap swing and Dotty's voice. "Cooey! Is anyone at home?"
Yeah, come on in,
yelled Rupert. Old Edward jumped again, covered his eyes with a paw and sighed a deep sigh.
Yaroo! What brings you to old Grimes's cottage?
Said Rupert, as all the Raggy Dolls came into the room.
Where have you been? Haven't seen you for centuries. Thought you must have gone walkabout.
After much handshaking and hellos, the Raggy Dolls sat down with Rupert and old Edward.
It's Mr. Grimes, said Dotty seriously. We think he's been acting very strangely lately. We wondered if you'd noticed anything too, added Hi-Fi. Well, now you mention it, said Rupert. I suppose the old possum has been a bit cuckoo lately.
I beg your pardon, said Sadzack, always a bit confused by Rupert's colourful language.
I think I can explain the problem in 2 words, said old Edward. Cynthia Popplethwaite.
Who's she? Said Lucy.
His old childhood sweetheart, said the teddy bear. She's come back, and he's still in love with her.
The Raggy Dolls listened as old Edward told them how young Ozzie Grimes had fallen in love with Cynthia when they were both still at school. Then Cynthia's parents had decided to move to Australia, and it broke poor Ozzie's heart.
How sad, said Princess. What about Cynthia? How did she feel?
She never knew, said old Edward. Sacre bleu, said Claude. If he loved her, why did he not tell her? Too shy, sighed the teddy bear. He was too shy then, and he's too shy now.
Meanwhile, Mr. Grimes was up in his office, trying to summon up the courage to call Cynthia and ask her out. His hand kept moving towards the telephone and pulling back, as he struggled to think of what to say. He really was in a terrible dither. Just as his hand reached for the telephone again, it rang. He jumped and grabbed the receiver.
Hello, Cynthia?
But it wasn't Cynthia. It was Eric, the foreman.
Oh, yes, sorry. Hello, Eric.
Eric told him about a broken drive belt on the assembly line. It was serious, and could he come and have a look?
Right, I see, yes, I'll come down straight away then.
He hung up the telephone, but something out of the window caught his eye. It was a lady in a smart tracksuit riding a bike.
Cynthia!
Exclaimed Mr. Grimes, forgetting all about Eric and the broken drive belt. The Raggy Dolls, Rupert the Roo, and old Edward had also seen her.
That's the lady who did the parachute jump at the town gala,
said Dotty. Just then, Mr. Grimes rushed out, looking all embarrassed, as they heard him say, "Oh, hello, Cynthia."
So that's Cynthia Popplethwaite, said Rupert.
Lucky old Grimesy, she's a corker.
Hello, Ozzie, said Cynthia, giving him a nice big smile. I thought I'd just pop in. I didn't really get a chance to thank you properly for all your help the other day. Oh, it was nothing, mumbled Mr. Grimes, going all red and looking at his feet. There was an awkward silence, and Cynthia smiled again. Oh, well, you must be very busy. Sorry if I interrupted you. I just popped in to say thanks, so thanks. I'd better be going. Poor Mr. Grimes wanted to ask her to stay and look around the factory, but he just couldn't find the words.
Oh, right. I see. Yes, well...
Goodbye, then, said Cynthia.
Poor Mr. Grimes, said Lucy. He really is very shy.
Yes, said Dotty, and it's quite obvious that Cynthia likes him a lot.
Isn't there something we could do to assist him in any way?
Said Princess.
He is beyond help, muttered Claude. If you love someone, then you should take them in your arms and say, Mon amour, je t'adore, my life is nothing without you. Steady on, chuckled Back to Front. I don't think old Grimes is ready for any of that just yet.
It's true, sighed old Edward.
He hasn't got away with words. I should know. He used to confide in me a lot in the old days.
Said Dotty, thinking hard. Maybe he can't say the right words, but he could write them.
What do you mean?
Said Sad Sack. Listen, said Dotty. I've got a plan. Later that night, the Raggy Dolls crept up to Mr. Grimes' office and began searching for his address book.
Here it is,
whispered Lucy.
Good,
Hissed Dotty.
look under P.
The Raggy Dolls looked up Cynthia Popplethwaite's address, while Hi-Fi put some paper in the typewriter.
Well, what shall we put?
He said. Oh, I don't know, said Dotty. How about, Dear Cynthia, sorry about today. I'm still very shy. I'd love to show you around the factory. Please come tomorrow if you can. That sort of thing. Hi-Fi began typing. It sounds a bit too businesslike, said Dotty when she read it back.
Why not put Love Ozzy at the end?
Suggested Lucy. Everyone agreed.
I think you should also say, please do not mention this letter, as it will only embarrass me, said Sad Sack.
Good thinking, said Dotty. Now, we need a letter from Cynthia to Mr. Grimes. Meanwhile, Mr. Grimes was in bed, but he couldn't sleep. Oh, Edward, he said to his old teddy bear, why am I so tongue-tied? I want to tell Cynthia how wonderful and beautiful she is, and how I've loved her all my life. There's never been anyone else for me.
Struth, thought Rupert. He's worse than I thought. He's sicker than a prawn at a barbie.
The very next day, Mr. Grimes was waiting by the factory gates and looking eagerly down the road when Eric the foreman came up to him. Ah, Mr. Grimes, about that broken drive belt. We're losing production. Everything's running at half speed.
What? Oh, never mind that now, said Mr. Grimes. I've got more important things to do.
Eric could not believe his ears. This was not the Mr. Grimes he knew. Oh, well, you're the boss, he said, and made his way back to the factory. Mr. Grimes took out the note in his pocket and reread it for what must have been the 20th time. Dear Ozzy, I know you are shy. I am too, but I've always loved you. Please don't mention this letter. It's the only way I can say what's in my heart. Love, Cynthia. From the cottage window, the Raggy Dolls watched as a happy smiling Mr. Grimes greeted a happy smiling Cynthia Popplethwaite and showed her towards the factory. I think our letters have done the trick, said Dotty. Yeah, look, said Back to Front. Mr. Grimes is giving her a kiss. Yahoo! Yelled Rupert the Roo, making everyone jump. Oh dear, sighed old Edward. I'll never get used to him. But he didn't really mind. Just like everyone else, he was happy and smiling too.
Raggy dolls, dolls like you and me. Raggy dolls, made imperfectly. So if you're not at ease with your knobbly knees and your fingers are all funds, stand on your two left feet and join our raggy doll chums. 'Cause raggy dolls are happy just to be. Raggy dolls, dolls like you and me.